So now we are going to study the Python operators. So Python has some numeric operators that would expect note that the truncated division, also known as the floor division, truncates the result an integer and a floating point and return integer value. So the integer value is returned. The modulo or modulus operator returns the remainder value of the division. So I assume you might know these operators. So this is a plus operator. 1 plus 2 is 3. See if I can. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. 1 plus 1. This is our multiplier, or state used for the multiplication. Then, as we mentioned, that suppose if we are using the simple division operator, so like suppose maybe we divide 2, so we will get 5. If we do the the truncating division, so like 5, so we will get the answer only 2. And for the modulus, suppose so only we get the result as a remainder. So suppose 10 divided by 3, sorry, 3, so get answer 1. Okay. So next we have comparison operators. So like A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2. So if we want to check A is equal to B or not. So let's try this as well. A is equal to 1, B is 2, and A, B. So answer is false. So if we want to check A is greater than B, so false. A is less than B, true. So something like this. And I assume all you know these operators, right? So we will also see two of the common membership operator to see whether the objective is in a sequence type, like suppose type sequence A is equal to hello world. So if you want to check if H is in A or not, so like A is equal to world. So H in A. So now we want to check H in A. So true. If I want to write some letter which is not in this list, like suppose I write this C, so false, right? So H not in A. So like suppose if I write H not in A, so it's false. And if I write Z not in A, is true. Okay, so these are some basic, the operators. So Python control flow tools. So if you have used some other, programming language, so you might know these if, else if, all these, the operators. So if, else, else if, in short, statement control conditions, code execution, as one would expect, the format of the condition statement is as follows. So like suppose if expression is do something, and else if expression is do something if the expression meets, and else if expression do something if the expression meets, and else this statement. So like suppose some examples here. So here is a simple example: A is equal to 10. So if A is greater than 10, so print A is larger than 10. Else if A is less than, the 1, sorry, A is greater than 1, so write A is greater than 1. If else if A is less than 1, so print less than 1. Else print A is equal to 1. So that is the simple, different uh, operators you can use. Okay, so Python control flow tools further. So for while loop, we will continue to execute until the condition is false. So be careful with this one. You don't want to continue to execute unlimited. Like suppose A is equal to 10, B is equal to 1, while A is less than A, so print B and B plus. So now it's doing a, the increment until what is the condition here? What is the condition with while? B is less than A. So if A becomes greater than B, then that ends. So it goes until 9, and after that it will not continue. Okay, so then for the for loop, the for loop works with object that supports iteration. So this means that all the built-in sequence types such as list, tuple, strings can be used for loop. The letter I in, for example, for loop is iterating variable, and you can typically pick something makes sense with the context of your code. So for I in sequence, do something, and let's suppose A is equal to 100, 200, 300, 400. For number in A, print number, and then it will iterate until all the A is printed out. Now we are moving to Python functions. So most of the time when you find yourself reusing some piece of code, you should break up to code in self-contained chunk as a function. So this practice allows for better modularity, easier to maintain and allow code reuse. So Python functions are defined using def or def keyword, the function name followed by the function parameters. So first we put def, then we put the name of the function, whatever we want to name, and then parameters, parameter one, parameter two. Okay, so the body of the function consists of Python statement that you executed, and at the end of the function, you can choose return a value to function caller, or by default, it will return none object if you don't specify return value. So let's suppose def name and parameter one, parameter two, so statements and then return value. So we will see a lot of more examples of the function in the following chapters. It means when we go through with this book. So here is a quick example. So now we defining a function subtract, and where we put a comma b as a the what we call the parameter one and parameter two. So c is equal to a minus b and return c. So the results will be subtraction of suppose 10 plus 5, and then we see the result 5 comma. Now we move to, that was a very important feature of the functions. We will discuss further in next the lectures and classes. And Python is an object-oriented programming language, or the way Python creates objects are with the class keywords. A Python object is most commonly a collection of functions, methods, variable, attributes, or property. Once a class is defined, you can create instances of such classes. So class serves as a blueprint of the subsequent instances. So for topic of object-oriented programming outside the scope of this chapter, so here we just simple of a router object definition. So let's suppose class router object. So definition in itself, name, interface name, vendor. So self.name is equal to name, self.interface number is equal to interface number, and then vendor. So that is the example of so you define a class router as an object. So in object you just define some further So once defined, you are able to create as many instances of the class as would you like. So like suppose router R1 router, now SF01 R1 64 Cisco. So R1 dot name. So it come with this, the SF01 R1, R1 interface, 64 interfaces, R1 vendor Cisco. That's how we define our the class. So like suppose R2 router, so now we put R2 router with different the name, interfaces, and the vendor. So R2 dot name is equal to LAX R2, R2 dot interface is equal to number of the interfaces, and R2 dot vendor is equal to Juniper. So these are some examples of classes. Now we move to the Python modules and packages. So any Python source file can be used as module, right? So and any function and classes you define in that source file can be reused. So that is very important feature, and we will be using for this feature to use. So to load the code file referring the module need to use import keyword. So like existing libraries, existing code we want to use, so we will use the word import, and then the three things happens you when the file is imported. One is the file creates a new namespace for the object defined in the file. So source file, the caller executes all the code contained in the module, and the file creates a name within the caller that refers to the module being imported. So the name matches the name of the module. So remember, we just defined the function subtract function that we defined using the interactive shell. So we use the function. We can put into the file name subtract.py. So definition and then return C. So now in the file within the same directory subtract.py, you can start the Python interpreter and import this function. So like suppose you write import subtract, and the results you can see this. So this is how it works. You can just call the functions import using import. So this works because by default Python will search to the current directory for value modules. If you are in a different directory, you can manually add such path location using the sys module sys.path. So remember that standard libraries that we mentioned a while back, you guessed it, those the Python files being used as modules. So now packages allow to a collection of the modules to be grouped together. So this further organize the Python modules. So packages, it will combine several modules, and then the Python modules in a more namespace protection for further reusability. So a package is defined by creating a directory with the name you want to use for the namespace. So then you can place a module source file under the directory in order for Python to know it is a Python package. So just create a underscore init dot the file. So file in this directory in same example as subtract.py file. If you were to create a directory called math stuff, create a underscore init dot py file. So like suppose the make directory math underscore stuff, and now you can you know create a file with the name init underscore py, and then you can write this directly the hello world py math stuff init py subtract.py. So this is how you can create it. Okay, so the way you will now refer to the module will need to include the package name. So now we created a package for subtract. So now we will write like this from math restore stuff dot subtract import subtract. So then you will see the result is equal to. So that's how it goes. So as you can see that modules and packages are great ways to organize large file and sharing files and code even easier. So I think that's it for today. And now, if you have any questions or queries or any things we want to discuss, we can do any of the slides if you want to discuss. In previous slides, I think I was very fast, especially from here, the mapping. Okay, let me before because we have some time. So what I noticed that when I was trying to use so from the PowerPoint it was causing problem, but when I copy directly from the book, so it works. So let's quickly go through some examples again, which we did not do. So like suppose starting from, I think this string was okay. So starting from this mapping, I think. So like suppose you see the data center, we defined data center spines and data center leaves, and you can see the difference of the curly brackets and the square brackets. And then if I write just data center one, so let's so you see that it combines both. And if you want to see them differently, so you just write data center one and the bracket is fine, so you will get return is fine. If you want leaves, so get return leaf. Sorry, I keep missing part letter. So then further some examples of sets. So like suppose just quickly see this example. So suppose if I just write B, so I'm not getting the repetitive words, right? Then maybe if I want to update the B, so now I'm updating the B, and when I write B, so now you see that B and A are updated, A not repeated again. Same, the B is not repeated only once. B and A are. Okay, so let's see if we have two sets, set A and set B, and want to do some intersection. So now we are doing intersection of A and B, and as observed that only the common numbers 4 and 5 will return. So if you want to do the union of the B, so you see this, all these numbers are combined. No, none of the number is repeated. So 4 and 5 not repeated again. Okay, so I think I did some of the operators. Okay, let's do this example. And this is the example of control flow. So let's suppose if it is 10 and then want to put some statement. Is equal to 10, then if when is maybe I cannot copy without this. So print larger than uh, okay, maybe we put try to make them using some last price. Oh, never mind. Maybe syntax error. So we are some we can do using the files. So let me try to do this. Uh, anyone knows what is the mistake I'm doing? Try this. Okay, now I got it. What was the mistake I'm doing? Let's try this. Yes. All of you are there. Still here? Are you still there? Yes. So let's try result. Right. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Conclusion is I'm directly using this, the writing the code. So the problem with my typing is I'm not following the syntax properly. So you might have idea of indent. So like suppose if you write the first line, so the Python will give you syntax error if you just write, suppose just in the direct line. So what I have to do, I have to press the tab manually. If you are using some IDE, so these IDE nowadays they just correct your syntax by itself. So that was the problem I was making. So I supposed to have this tab, the diff gap. If even I just put one space character, that will work, but maybe you can use tab or you can use some more spaces. So that is the problem I was making. So now you see our subtract function is defined. So maybe we go to the next part and see where we use this as a uh, you know so maybe we just do this part to just see how we can the use as a function. So now this is our code. I hope this works fine. Now again I'm making mistakes, so I need to make it like this. I hope that it works. So let's see. So how we can use, so in the file same directory you just you can start Python interpreter to import. So like suppose here we import subtract in Python interpreter. So Python interpreter we go to the Python 3 and I just write import subtract. Now you see this come with this. So now I try to do this experiment again for this result, and now you see result. So we get the result. If we change the values, like suppose I subtract from 100, we will subtract 55, and you see this, our subtract function is working as a import. So now I am importing this file and as a function. So further we have discussed this here again. So now suppose if you want to make this as a, function, so you just create a package and within package you can. Okay, so I think we just stop here and let me share the attendance. Again, if you have any queries or questions, you can ask. Meanwhile, I just share the attendance. Okay, so before we move to the attendance, I just want to show one more thing, that either you can use this, the virtual machine, because in the virtual machines by default the Python is installed in the Linux. Python comes with by default. Or other thing is you can install Python in your Windows machine or whatever operating system you are using, and you can install some IDE like this one. I have this PyCharm. So in PyCharm, you have both options. Either like suppose this is test.py file. I created a project and I created a file test.py py. So here you can start writing the code. Let me show you here. Uh, this file I just created. So, this will show you the, the, can you see this red? I don't know if is it visible or not. Let me show it again. Yes, so you see this just like in your word it shows that some error, so it's showing me syntax error, which was I was making mistake. So when I just press tab, so you see this syntax error is gone, and then I press tab, that's gone. So now if I want to run this file or if I want to save this file, so I can use. So this IDE is called PyCharm. So you can download PyCharm either if you want to do experiments on the. So first you need to install the Python from download Python, the latest version, and then install this PyCharm. So you can do experiments here. So in here it provides the the just like the interpreter called Windows PowerShell. So here you can do some experiments directly, like suppose if I want to do print some string, so if I hello world, so this is same like you are running code. Maybe to check it again, some, some problem with this again. This code is processed. Okay, maybe we do we will do it tomorrow when we'll do the lab. Let me make something and come up with the bigger thing that will confuse you more. So that's it.